This was the craziest NBA draft of the decade, and somehow, no one is talking about the most interesting move. Because with this year's top four, everyone expects them to change their franchise. But there's at least 3 more guys drafted after them that could do the exact same thing. That's why today we're grading every NBA draft pick. Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Today, we are grading every single 2026 NBA draft pick, and we're going to start with the top. Number 1, AJ Dybantsa. I give it an A-. Obviously, the best combination of size, power, length, and athleticism in the entire class. The only reason this pick is not an A+ is none of his wrongdoing. It's the teams. I'm factoring in the Trae Young extension. If that wouldn't have happened this week, this would be an A+ home run. They picked the best guy overall. Let's move on to number 2. I give it a B. You do not draft this high for fit. DP was number 1 on a lot of people's boards. However, it felt like if they had a different team built already, that they would have went Cam Boozer. Drafting for fit at number 2 overall is not logical enough for it to be an A+ home run, especially with everything we saw over the past 8 months of his college basketball career. I think Darryn Peterson has the highest ceiling out of anybody in the NBA draft, but to me, he also has the lowest floor. And you can argue if that floor is a Bradley Beal, but one thing you cannot argue is that his season at Kansas raised questions about decision-making, and it raised questions about him as a passer. However, getting a guy like this is something that Utah needed. It's not a negative grade. It's a B for me. It's just not an A+. Let's move on to number 3 with the Memphis Grizzlies. Their GM had a very, very interesting press conference immediately after drafting Cam Boozer, basically saying that if they had the number 2 or even number 1 overall pick, there was a high likelihood that they would have drafted the same guy they got at 3. For that reason, it is an A. The thing about Cam is he's won at every level, and you can argue that his ceiling isn't as high as a Darryn Peterson. His ceiling isn't as high as an AJ Dybantsa, but his floor might be higher than both of those guys. His only downside is his defense can be exploited, but on offense, he can beat you in ball screens. He can beat you as a shooter. He can beat you off of closeouts in the post. He's nearly a cannot-fail offensive player. And for that reason, it's an A. He's the first building block of a full Memphis rebuild, and you already have quality young guys around him, but he is the first star of that team. And I think having him with a Cedric Howard, having him with a Zach Edey, he's going to play a role in making those guys better. At number 4, the Chicago Bulls went with Caleb Wilson. It's another A for me. Explosive athlete with an all-star ceiling. The only reason this isn't an A+ on my end is because of the floor risk. He could become a John Collins type if skill and defense don't develop. However, he was the obvious choice after the first 3 picks were made, and his work ethic will determine how far he goes in this league. The good thing about Chicago is they had a great selection later in the first round as well. At number 5 is the LA Clippers. They went Keaton Wagler here. It's the guy I made a video about back in February. I've DM'd back and forth with the kid. He was the biggest surprise pop-up one and done. His story is incredible. This time last year, he was ranked 261st in his high school class. He got an offer from Illinois. It was one of 2 D1 offers he had. And when he was leaving last summer to go to school, he didn't know if he was going to be redshirted or not. Now he just got picked in the top 5 of an NBA draft less than 1 year later. It's a B for me. His story is incredible. He's an elite processor. He shoots 40% plus on pull-up and catch-and-shoot threes. He's got a tight handle. Has superb vision and a great point guard. And he can play off-ball of Darius Garland. I think that's why the Clippers made this pick. The only reason this is not an A and it is a B is because the ceiling feels like Austin Reeves. We don't know that, but the reason why it's not a C, D, F, or anything like that is at the end of the day, Keaton Wagler's a good fit on this team. He's a potential all-star if his physical developments catch up to him. He obviously looks on the younger side. That's because he is young. And again, he plays what I think he will play well off ball to Darius Garland. At number 6, the Brooklyn Nets. This was the first big surprise of the draft. They went Mikel Brown Jr. over Darius Acuff. For me, it's a C. Mikael Brown's a great shooter. We all know that. He has a valuable NBA skill combo, but he needs to keep building his frame. He is a skinny on-ball guard and those body types have historically struggled in the NBA. He was a polarizing prospect because while all the noise was with Darryn Peterson at Kansas and what was going on with his cramps or what was going on with him playing one half of games and sitting out, Mikael Brown Jr. quietly had a similar season as Darryn Peterson last year at Louisville. He had back issues there. That's obviously a concern. And the Nets' recent draft history doesn't inspire confidence in anything they're doing right now draft-wise. So that's why it's a C for me. It's the first draft pick on this board that is below a B. And at number 7 is the guy they passed up on. Darius Acuff Jr. fell to the Sacramento Kings. It's a B+. He's the most polished teenage guard as a shot creator in this draft class. He has improved his shooting drastically this season as it went on. His defense was poor. You can't hide that. That's the only reason this isn't an A. But he has Damian Lillard-esque offensive upside, and the Kings badly needed a one-man offense-capable guard at this position. And pairing him with pairing him with the veterans they have at least gives their fans hope about him developing as a prospect. At number 8 is Kingston Fleming out of Houston. It's an A for the Atlanta Hawks. He was named an All-American as a freshman under Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson is an absolute drill sergeant, so he's able to be coachable. He needs to improve his lower body strength and keep developing his footwork and floater, but he's the perfect fit for the Hawks after Trae Young's departure. They needed a true point guard that teammates love to play with, and Kingston Fleming checks all those boxes. It is an A. At number 9 is another surprise, Morez Johnson. A lot of people had him going after the 10th pick, after the 11th pick, in the early teens even, maybe. But for the Dallas Mavericks, their biggest need was a point guard. And instead of going Braden Burries, they went Morez Johnson Jr. It's a C- for me. Yes, he's a versatile front court defender who can roam the perimeter and destroy the glass, but he needs a three-point jump shot, and Cooper Flagg needs spacing. I'm very surprised, especially with his offensive limitations. Those limitations that he has on offense is too much for a top 10 pick in one of the strongest drafts in NBA history. That is why it's as low as it is. Obviously, the curveball in all this is that new coach Dusty may have influenced picking 3 Wolverines. So who knows what happened there, but Morez Johnson is heading to the Dallas Mavericks. At number 10, Milwaukee Bucks. Braden Burries fell to him. He's a terrific two-way threat, and it's an A for me. Braden Burries to the Milwaukee Bucks. He can score from all 3 levels. He's a more elite complementary player than a star. He needs to grow as a passer to reach all-star level, but it's a great first piece for the Milwaukee Bucks in their rebuild. At number 11, Golden State Warriors went with Yaxel Lindeborg. And before I get into the grade, I want to address the viral video that came out of the Warriors War Room. They were live streaming their War Room, and GM Mike Dunleavy had a clear disagreement with owner Joe Lacob. And I saw a tweet that really summarized the entire exchange, and it said this: an NBA GM's job on multiple franchises can be summarized as convincing a rich guy that you're making the right decision. It's exactly what it looked like Mike Dunleavy was trying to do. I don't know what player they were arguing over. I don't know which guy wanted who, but they ended up, I think, with the right pick with Yaxel Lindeborg. I think it's an A for me. He's a ready-made day one starter. They needed a versatile guy like this, especially after losing Andrew Wiggins a few years back, after losing Jonathan Kuminga and the disagreement they had on that and all the value that dropped in that. Yaxel's a guy who's 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan. He's older, so he can plug and play in Steve Kerr's offense. I think his ceiling could be an OG. His ceiling, I think his comp right now could be a Rui Hachimura. I think to see if this fits, the Warriors are going to have to get more and not put too much on Yaxel too early. Put him in as a role player, but I think the Golden State Warriors are not done with their offseason. Can't wait to see what else they do. At number 12, OKC picked Adey Mara. For me, it was a B. He's a special 7'3" passer. It fascinates me if OKC plays him as an offensive hub. I'm interested to see how that fits. I think this can arguably be the most fascinating fit of the entire NBA draft. I don't know if it's going to work. That's why it's a B. But it was the best available player at this spot. Thunder capitalized on a talent tier drop-off, and coming away with Mara at 12 is not a bad pick, so it's a B. At number 13, this was the Milwaukee Bucks pick because of that Giannis trade. Miami was originally slotted here. Milwaukee went with Nate Ament. I didn't like Nate Ament going anywhere before this spot. So the fact they were able to get Braden Burries at 10 and then come away with Nate Ament at 13, it raises this grade. I watched Nate Ament once in person in January. Tennessee gave us all access. We were on the court and were able to stand on the court, watch him warm up, watch him practice in the facility. And he has tantalizing upside. Obviously, he's 6'10". He can handle the ball, but he looked to me stiffer than Jabari Smith. And Jabari Smith was a top 3 draft pick. People thought his ceiling could be Kevin Durant-esque. It didn't obviously work out that way. He was just too stiff, and Nate Ament kind of rubs me the exact same way. The difference between him and Jabari is I don't think Nate Ament is as good of a defender as Jabari Smith can be, but at least he's not the all-in prospect that the Bucks are going on. They have Braden Burries, and hopefully Burries can help Nate Ament thrive in his new role in Milwaukee. Number 14 is a team close to home. Charlotte Hornets interviewed their players twice this year, hoping to meet up with them at Summer League, and can't wait to watch their first-round pick, Steinbach. It's a B- for me. Starting caliber center. They needed this. The Hornets need center depth. They need somebody outside of Moussa Diabate that can play for them. I know they drafted Ryan Kalkbrenner, but he looks so too slow-footed for the NBA, and I think getting more big man depth was the right call here. So it's a B- for me. There's just a talent drop-off. That's why the grades are going to get a little bit worse. But a grade that's not going to get worse is the Chicago Bulls. I hinted at what they did later in the draft, and this was the pick that really sold me on their entire draft. Dalen Swain was a guy the Memphis Grizzlies wanted at 16. They did not get them. They did not get him because the Bulls got him at 15. This is an A- pick for me, or an A pick for me. He's a big physical slasher with elite body control, one of the draft's top driving upside prospects. And he obviously needs to fix his jumper and make quicker decisions, but he is far enough along offensively to project as a potential starter, unlike previous Bulls swing and miss wing picks. The Bulls needed more wings, and they got one in Dalen Swain, and I think that's when the Memphis Grizzlies eventually traded back from 16 to 17 and then to 21, because from 16 to 21, there wasn't that big of a talent gap. Dalen Swain felt like the last guy that the Grizzlies would wait around on, and that's why they eventually traded back. Hitting some highlights here. Actually, we'll pause for 4 questions, and then we'll go through the rest of the draft. I think these are some good questions I want you guys to answer in the comments as well. Outside of the top 4 picks, who would be your choice to win Rookie of the Year? For me, it's Darius Acuff. I think he's going to have the biggest window of opportunity in Sacramento, and excluding those top 4 guys, I think Darius Acuff has the highest ceiling this year to have a breakout first year in the NBA. Next question, and again, I want you guys to answer these in the comments. What was the overall best pick of the night? For me, it was Cam Boozer of the Memphis Grizzlies. It was a guy they wanted. I still think to this day Utah wanted if they didn't have a fit problem, and the fact that he fell to 3 is an amazing thing for Memphis, and I can't wait to watch him in person this fall. Third question, what's your favorite prospect team fit outside of the lottery? So outside of the lottery, what's the best team and prospect fit? For me, I changed it from favorite to most interesting. The most interesting is Ade Mara to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm simply fascinated by the idea of Mara as an offensive hub who can give the Thunder a unique look up front. Whether he can develop enough shooting to pull opponents out of the paint is a fair question, but I will tune in when the Thunder and Spurs play next season just to see how Mara handles his inevitable matchup with Victor Wembanyama. I'm interested to see that. I don't know if it's going to have a good ending, but I'm interested to see that prospect team fit, especially at getting him at number 12. Fourth question: which title contender helped itself the most on Tuesday night? For me, it was the San Antonio Spurs. We haven't gotten to it yet, but they were very pronounced about how they tackled their biggest need, which was to become bigger and more physical up front. And we saw Wembanyama get beat up in the finals. I think a healthy Jaden Quaintance and an NBA-ready Taurus Reed Jr. should give him some cover as San Antonio prepares for physical playoff battles to come. Let's get into the second half of the draft. OKC at 16. They traded up from 17 to get this. Bennett Sturts feels like the most OKC pick ever. It's a B for me. I don't know how he's going to hold up on the defensive end, but it gives the Thunder a true point guard. It feels like a little overlap with Jared McCain, but it is what it is. I just want to see if he's going to be able to separate from NBA-level athletes. It's the only reason it's on an A. That and his defense I want to see before I make a sweeping judgment about how good the pick is. It's Sam Presti, so I just default to trusting whatever he does. At 17 is the Detroit Pistons. Ibuka Okore, the Stanford kid, B+ for me. No guard in the class is better at touching the paint off the dribble than Ibuka Okore. He's got a lethal handle, a lethal reactivity, and he's comparable to the upside of a guy like Dennis Schroeder. I know that may sound like an insult right now, but 5-10 years ago, Dennis Schroeder was talking about making 9 figures in this league, and I think Ibuka is all of the good sides of a guy like Schroeder. At 18 is the Charlotte Hornets, Christian Anderson Jr. out of Texas Tech. He's the best shooter in the class. For that reason, it's a B for me. Toronto Raptors got Alan Graves. He was a role player on the Santa Clara team, and he went 19th overall in the draft. It's a great story. It's an A- for me. He's an analytics darling. Doesn't surprise me if the Raptors were interested in him. He needs to improve his athleticism. It's the only reason it's not an A+. Spurs, I spoke on a little bit answering the 4 questions, but Jaden Quaintance from Kentucky, it's a B. He's got a Robert Williams style of play, and the health from the knee is the unknown here, and that's why it's not an A, but it's a B. Getting him at 20, I think, is a good swing. At 21, I know the guy in the Memphis Grizzlies jacket is giving Memphis all of the flowers. This is an A with Kareem Lopez, the first Mexican first-round draft pick in the history of the NBA, not because of his origins or his story, but it's because after they lost out on Swain at 15, they had the 16th pick. Instead of just taking Kareem Lopez there, they traded out of it because they knew what was coming behind them, and they got 5 second-round picks from it. And 5 second-round picks is like, okay, who the hell is going to use all that, and what's the hit rate of that? That's not the point. They gathered as many picks as possible to attach to Ja Morant to trade him in the future. They know Ja's value, especially right now, is negative, so they're in asset gathering mode, and to draft the same guy that you were drafting at 16 at 21 and get 5 second-round picks out of that to attach to a future blockbuster or future deal, I should say, I think that's a win. And no matter how Kareem Lopez ends up, it's an A for me. The Philadelphia 76ers, LeBaron Philon, this is who I wanted the Grizzlies selfishly to take at 21, but I understand why the Grizzlies wanted a big physical rebounder, and they needed to get bigger at the wing, and the Philadelphia 76ers taking a swing on Philon at guard made sense. He led a top 3 national offense at Alabama. He is a star. The intangibles were a question. That's why the Grizzlies stayed away from him. Atlanta Hawks, I gave them a B for the draft of Zuby. Lakers got Cam Carr, B+ for me. He's a legitimate three-point shooter who attacks closeout, cuts well off the ball, and has excellent length. I think he could be the player that the Lakers thought they were getting and Dalton Connect, and that's why it's a B+ for me. Dallas Mavericks got Sergio De La Herrera. It's an A for me. I think Bogdan Bogdanovic is his ceiling. The concerns is his handle isn't tight enough for primary creation. Again, the Dallas Mavericks just didn't solve their biggest problem. And even though this pick, I said it was an A, I'm dropping it to a B as I'm talking myself through it. It's not the best draft for Dallas, in my opinion. San Antonio Spurs, Taurus Reed Jr., I gave it a B as well. He's a solid backup big. This is what they needed. They needed to get more physical, and I like it. Boston Celtics got Chris Senac Jr. He's a terrific athlete. And entering the draft 1 to 2 years early, I don't expect much in year one, especially in Boston, but he's a full project build, and we'll see if it ends up working. Brooklyn Nets, Josh Jefferson, I gave it a B, kind of like similar to Kyle Anderson's game, and I'm interested to see what Brooklyn does with all of these draft picks that they have. Kings, Alex Caravan from UConn, widely renowned college player. It's a C. He's a role player, but he cannot beat anyone off the bounce. That's why it's a C for me. And at number 30 is a C as well. Koa Pete, everybody knows him from Arizona. He's an undersized big, though, and I don't see him having a long career in the NBA. I hope all of these guys prove me wrong because I hate making sweeping judgments off the NBA draft. But hey, if you have any sweeping judgments, make sure to drop them in the chat. I'm responding all day long down there, and appreciate you watching. We'll be right back tomorrow talking NBA free agency, so make sure to subscribe. See you tomorrow.